Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here with my Supernatural Season 15 premiere review, back and to the future. I know this will be super late by the time it comes out for those of you who aren't like super caught up on my channel or anything. I don't have my laptop right now, so things are like very guerrilla mode, so I don't know when this will get uploaded, but hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. Love the first episode. I actually did do a reaction. Once again, this will be uploaded late. That'll be super late because I actually have to edit that video, and no one I know actually has like a really strong like computer with editing software and stuff on it. I'm the only person, so I don't know when that'll come out, but I am going to be doing reactions for every single episode for this final season. So hopefully I'll be pumping those out. My hope is to at least get like the first episodes out before we end up in December hitting like the mid-season finale. So I'm hoping that that's the case. I'm hoping in general I'm able to just upload things quicker, sooner rather than later. But this first episode, really fun. First off, I want to note that we have been introduced to a new character, Balfagar, if I'm not mistaken. They should have chosen a different name because not only is his name super close to Balthazar, but he also reminds me of him because he's like the funny, sarcastic character. Like, a dude gets killed and they needed a heart and he's like, sweet. Like, he's a funny character. I really like the character. I like getting to see the character acted out, which I can't remember the actor's actual name, unfortunately. But I think he does a great job as his new character. Obviously Jack is very stoic and, even more so than Cass. I feel like Jack is a different type of stoic than Cass was when he first came along because they're both very similar characters and naive and, they say very direct and literal things. Cass had two great moments in this. My favorite probably being "You Shot Me," which honestly, I can't believe that situation has never come up, period. Like, not just with Cass, but in general. I almost can't believe that that's never happened before, where they've had a ghost and they tried to shoot it with the rock salt, and they also technically got it, but then it blows through and it hits the person behind. And of course, if it wasn't, an angel, that would be an issue. But I'm just like, that's never come up before. So that's really cool. But our new character, he's very interesting. I think he's hilarious, but I can't trust him. I just don't trust him. He says he's just the number cruncher, where it's like, oh, you did this, and I tortured you a little bit, and this and that. But he had some insane spells. Like, he literally was like, oh, I can help you guys out, no big deal. Get a little, graveyard dirt, get some angel blood. He didn't have to say anything. He just did like this, and all the ghosts were just poofed out. Like, they were just shot out of all the bodies and stuff. And I was like, that's a pretty, interesting spell. Technically, it is a simple spell, but for it to be basically, the demon equivalent of like, the angel sigils where you have to do it in blood and everything and, slap your hand on it to, banish the angels out. For it to be that simple, and we've never seen it before in the series, I'm like, all right, that makes it special. Like, you can't show something, even though it seems very simple, you can't have that spell in there, and it just pops up now, and then it's like, yeah, that's no big deal, it's like a tiny spell. Like, nope, it's never been seen before in this series, and that makes it a big deal. And he did it like it was nothing. And then he also had the thing where it's like, all I need is salt and a human heart, and he knew some words, and then boom, he set up like a 5-mile wide barrier that traps ghosts within it, and it keeps ghosts from getting out of it. And I was like, okay, that seems pretty strong to me for a dude who's just, the number cruncher. And he's been down there for a long time. It does make sense that he would, pick up some stuff here and there. That totally makes sense. But I was like, man, he's got some decent spell skills. And I feel like we're going to see a lot more stuff from his character, where he's going to be just whipping out a bunch of spells like, oh yeah, I know this, I know that. No big deal. And it's just like, simple little things here and there. And it's like, something about his character. Of course, they had the scene where Dean puts the gun away. And he's like, oh, what's that? And he's like, don't worry about it. And he's like, okay, cool. He seems like the type of character that would do that, where it's like, all right, no big deal. I don't really give a crap. But he'll at least be curious. He'll at least see what it is. He'll take it. And we'll see what happens when that, that moment comes. But I did love this first episode. Literally, the one thing missing for me was the fact that we didn't get to see anything going on with actual Jack, dealing with the darkness and whatever's going on with Billy and potentially even, Lucifer. I don't know how they're going to do that. Also, man, there's so much in this first episode. So I wish we got to see that. But I will say, because I thought that was going to be the end of the episode, I was like, all right, they're going to go through, see, like, let's catch up with Sam, Dean, and Cass, watch them get out of the crazy graveyard situation after Chuck's just like, whatever, and then he poofs them into nighttime, which they don't reference at all. It was daytime, and then he poofed them into the future, and then it was just like, bam, nighttime. And I was like, they have no reference to that, about how they like skipped 8 hours ahead or however many hours ahead. It was just like, whatever, it's nighttime. They didn't reference that at all. I'm like, that's a pretty big deal to me. But, either way. We see them get out of that. We see them get introduced to a new character. We see them clear out this whole town and everything. And of course we get reintroduced to some old ghosts. We get to see the very first ghost, the lady in white. That was pretty cool. We got to see Bloody Mary, so that was pretty cool. We got to see the killer clown. We got to see the tall burnt dude. And I don't remember the names for most of the characters, but it's like, they obviously picked like the most visual ones. And I was like, okay, I remember the woman and like the old Victorian get up with the with the hatchet and stuff. I was like, all right, I definitely remember her. I remember the tall burnt dude. Creepy clown, that's an easy one. I even remember that the makeup doesn't look exactly the same. And I could be thinking of the clown from American Horror Story, but I'm pretty sure the makeup was slightly different when they had the original scary clown in the series. But I was like, that's really cool. Like, I do remember them because they of course pick like the most memorable ones. Like, all right, the lady in white. Creepy clown, Victorian lady with an axe, tall burnt guy. Like, okay, you pick the obvious ones. That's easy for me to remember those guys. So that's pretty cool. I am curious how much of this town we're gonna get to see in this season. I'm hoping it only lasts at most 3 episodes. That's my hope, is that they're gonna be in this town for 3 episodes. They reference Rowena. They already want her to help, and her exquisite ass, of course. And so, I'm hoping that we get to see. Basically they deal with this problem, even though there's tons of ghosts and stuff all over the place. I doubt all of them are within the town. It's just like a lot of them are there. And then others I'm sure have already spread out to other spots. So I'm hoping we only see this town for like 3 episodes max. Like I said, is my hope. They get Rowena in. She combines with Balthazar, I hope. And they do some brand new super crazy spell. It kills off all the demons, sends them back to hell. They close up the rift. Which I thought was interesting when they even referenced that, because I was like, I didn't think there was a rift. I mean, Chuck was just like, boom, he snapped his fingers, and everyone just came out. Like, I feel like there's not much of a rift in that type of situation. Like, they didn't show a portal or anything like that. But I guess technically the rift would just be, some metaphysical space, because obviously they can go from heaven to heaven, earth, purgatory, and hell, as well as the darkness. Obviously they can't travel there, but they have ways to travel around. So who knows? Maybe they'll actually go to hell super early, and it's like, all right, let's wrap this stuff up. But the really big thing, and I think it's one of the things within this series that people have mentioned time and time again, they literally have to do it. It's the final season, and it would be like the biggest notch against this entire series if they don't. But they referenced Michael in the cage, and it was like, yep, everything's open, including the cage. So far, the word is Michael was just kind of chilling, maxing and relaxing, doing his thing. He was just like, whatever. So if Michael comes back officially, we will finally get to see after, God, that was season 5. So after 10 years of him being in the cage, we will get to see their brother come back. And I don't know what the F that means in any way, shape, or form. He's been down there for so long. We already saw what happened with Sam, and that was a year or 2 or something like that. So 10 years of him just being down there, stuck in the cage, in his own personal cage, because I know they referenced it. I forgot how they explained it before, but like they went to the cage and it was like, oh crap, there's Lucifer. But for whatever reason, Michael wasn't like right there in the cage. It was like it was the cage, but only Lucifer is there, and it didn't make a lot of sense. And I remember them explaining at some point some weird thing where it's like everyone's kind of like in their own separate cage, even though they all went to the cage. It's like separate or something like that. I feel like I heard that somewhere. I might be just be making that up, but they referenced it, and they have to do it. I mean, it's literally like the big thing that's come up over and over and over again. Their brother is down there. He is their brother. He is a Winchester, even if that's only their half brother, because it's just their dad's illegitimate son. That is still their brother. We have not seen this dude forever. He's got to come back. So I hope we get to see that. I hope we get to see those angels that have like the swords and stuff. That's always been my big thing. I'm like, man, I want them to do that so bad. Sadly, we don't get Wayward Sisters, so of course they have to put it into the show, which I really hope they do. And if they don't, then I don't know. I hadn't even thought of this, but maybe depending on how the series ends, we might actually get more stuff after this. We could easily get comics. I feel like they could easily do supernatural comics, depending on what happens. Even if they killed Sam and Dean, which I doubt they'll do. I think they'll kill one of them. That's just my running theory right now. No real nothing behind it, no evidence. Just that's my theory. I think they're gonna kill either Sam or Dean, and I don't really know who. I think maybe Dean, just because they have currently like the whole bullet thing going with Sam, where it's like, oh, Chuck was shot and you were hit with the same sort of magical impact, and it doesn't heal up. And they have this crazy clip that reminded me of when Sam didn't have a soul, like when he was trying to fight that, and they have like the flashes and stuff in his head, and he's trying to kind of maintain things. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that ends up playing out, but. Great first episode, fantastic ending. By the way, I thought they were gonna do, we get to see what's going on with the darkness and all that stuff there. But the way they ended it, and I thought it was just cool. And I was like, oh man, they're doing like the classic line. They ended the classic way where they close the trunk, and he's like, we got work to do. And as Sam is closing it, they cut to the first episode, and I was like, that was so good. Like for some reason, I was just like, that was better than anything I'd even thought of, which technically the only thing I thought of was I really want to see what's going on with Jack. But the way they ended that, I was so happy with. And I was like, man, I said in my reaction, I was like, it would be so cool, even though they can't really do this logically, it would be amazing if they ended every single episode this season with a clip from an old episode, and it was like, they're in like the exact same position, or they do like this exact same thing, or like just something super random. But they can't really do that. You got the trunk, like Dean saying son of a bitch, or, something random like that. But I was just like, man, that was such a good way to do it. And it just, I don't know, it made me happy. It was just like, man, I have watched, like a lot of people came into the show a lot later on, because, you got 15 years to do so. So a lot of people have come onto the show after it was already popular and, binge watching stuff. But I remember watching it on WB20 when WB still had its own thing before it was the CW. And it's crazy. It's like, man, I was watching that. I remember them being in front of the Impala, standing in front of those giant lights that said WB in the background and stuff like that. It's like, man, Supernatural. 15 years. I just turned 27 recently. 15 years. I was 12. That's crazy. But, man, I'm excited. Final season. Sad to see the series go. But I am excited to see what they do with this. What demons we get. What characters we get coming back. What they're going to be doing with the angels, what they're going to be doing with heaven as a whole, hell. Maybe we'll get to see more of purgatory and stuff like that. Maybe we'll even see more of the alternate worlds. I personally don't believe Chuck is gone. By the way, they reference that, like Dean's, they have their big conversation at the end. It sounds like, Chuck's gone. And when we win, that's it. Like, we win, no meddling, no nothing. Chuck took off to make another story. I don't think that's true, because Chuck was hurt. He was shot with that bullet. And no matter what they say, that's going to be relevant. Like, it didn't heal for Sam, and it's God, so he could easily just be like, whatever, I'm God, I made the gun, I can just take my pain away. Easily could happen. I don't think they really showed him have any effect. Like, he was technically just hit, and it was like, oh, crap, you shot me. And then that was it. He was just mad, and they didn't show him wounded, but it was also like a couple of seconds, and he was pissed off, and then he snapped his fingers, and everything went to hell on earth, and he's gone. I think he's coming back. I feel like, I've always said the series would end with God. I thought that would be the introduction of God, and it would be the final season of them being like, oh, here's God, and how we're going to deal with this. We've had God for a minute now, and now he's an a-hole. So I don't know. I don't know how they could officially kill God, but man, that's a way to go. They've already done it with the devil, sort of. I'm sure we'll see him come back. I don't know how they're going to do the element of the body and, stuff like that. But yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. I'm just excited for this final season. But of course, we'll love to know what you guys thought about this. Naturally, it's the final season, so I want to know your theories, what you guys hope we end up seeing, what you don't want to see even. I mean, there's a lot from this series. I'm sure a lot of people don't want the Leviathans in here in any way, shape, or form. But I would love to know what you guys want to see for this season, what your theories are for this season. What's the deal with this new character? Is he going to betray them? Is he not going to betray them? I feel like that's almost a staple. Every time someone's been taken over by someone else, they never end up being good. Like, even the closest we came was Gadriel. I believe it was him. There's been so many angels, I can't remember who the F took over Sam's body. But I believe that was his name. It was Gadriel. And even he was still kind of a bad person, because he was hiding it and stuff like that, and they didn't realize for a minute. And some other stuff that I can't really remember because that was such a long time ago. But it was like, okay, he had some issues. He was scared and stuff. I do remember that. He was freaked out. I was like, I didn't want you guys to know, because, I was kind of imprisoned and stuff like that. And I was scared. I was a bit worried that things weren't going to go my way. And, that being the case, things didn't exactly go the way of the characters because some bad stuff happened, and he ended up being a bad person, ultimately at least. So it's like every time somebody gets taken over by anybody, it's not a good thing. So it's Jack's turn, and I think, eventually Jack will come back, he'll get his actual body, and then Balthazar, I swear, every time I say it, I feel like I'm just closer and closer to just saying Balthazar, but I'm pretty sure it's Balthazar? It's super close. It's too close. They shouldn't have made it so close. But whatever the dude's name is, I feel like when he gets his own body, or just gets a new body, I should say, it's not going to be good. I think he'll take the gun, and I'm not entirely sure what will happen with that. Maybe he does have some other agenda, stuff like that, but it'll be interesting. Super funny, this whole episode. People looking hot. He called Dean gorgeous. He said he was a huge fan. I love that callback. A lot of cool mini callbacks in this, aside from just, here's a bunch of demons we fought from, episode 1, season 1. And, of course, the very end. But it had a lot of cool little things. It was like, oh, that reminds me of Sam Without His Soul. Or they straight up reference, like, oh, Dean, when you were in hell, I was a huge fan. Like, the stuff you did to those people. Little stuff like that. I was like, oh, that's cool. They're already putting in these references. Like, hey, final season, we're throwing it all at you. So I love that. But ultimately, we're coming to the end, and that really sucks. Shouldn't have plugged my phone in with this tiny little freaking cord. But that is into my review for episode 1 of the final season of Supernatural. Currently catching up on The Flash. Curious how that's going to end up playing out. But either way, would love to know what you guys thought about the premiere. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.